Welcome back to another progress update of my 75 Hard Challenge. My name is Carlo, and today I'm going to be breaking down exactly how I've been pushing through after 4 weeks of training and keeping consistent with this type of program. In my past videos, I've talked a lot about the necessary requirements mentally to push through something like this. Today, I really want to focus on talking about what my day-to-day routine has looked like in these past 4 weeks and how I have slightly modified this program in order to better fit my needs, and how maybe you in turn can do the same. I think it's important to adapt the program and regimen to your lifestyle so that it can be something that you sustain and continue on rather than drop after 2 days or drop the minute you finish. So first, what are the main objectives and what are the checkpoints that you must meet with 75 Hard? For the most part, fairly similar to your typical 75 Hard, with a few alterations. First, I have to maintain some sort of diet. My personal diet is that I home make every single thing that I'm eating. Second, I've chosen to weigh myself every single morning. The weighing is more to pinpoint your data and to track your progression day by day and in turn week by week, not to fixate on numbers and not to get obsessed with nitty-gritty details and small differences and fluctuations. The third objective that I must meet every day is to consume 1 gallon of water per day. That's from the moment I wake up in the morning all the way until the moment I go to sleep. Fourth is to take a progress photo of myself at the same time of day, wearing the same exact shorts, hopefully in the same part of my room and the same lighting. The fifth objective that I have to meet every single day is to read 10 pages of a nonfiction self-help book. My sixth objective every single day is 2 parts. 1 indoor activity and 1 outdoor activity. Both have to be for 45 minutes. Seventh objective is something that I haven't seen a lot of other people do, but I've chosen to adopt because it's very important to me. I have committed to 1 45-minute creative session every single day, whether that be songwriting or music production, choir, it varies. But by giving myself that minimum requirement, I know then I'm actually incorporating creativity and art into my entire life rather than into occasions. The final thing that we'll end up going over is being 100% sober from alcohol, from substances. That's like one of the key things to this project, because without doing that, it's gonna derail everything else that you're doing. Let's get a little bit more into each of these specific categories and objectives. Like I mentioned, the first thing that I'm doing every single day is making sure that I'm maintaining some sort of diet. Now there's a lot out there. There's keto. Some people choose just to cut out gluten. Some people choose to lower their sugar intake. Some people are going hardcore caloric counts. Some people are watching specific macros. Personally, I'm already doing so much, so that's a lot to conceptualize and think about having to log even more. For me, I'm already logging these challenges every day, that adding more things to log and keep track and count of just clutters my brain. So I kept it very simple. Anything I eat, I have to make at home. What you primarily end up doing is you end up cutting out a lot of extra processed things that we eat when eating out that we're not necessarily even aware of. Honestly, like I'm not the biggest nutrition junkie, and I wouldn't be able to tell you the breakdowns of foods that I eat when I go out to a restaurant. But overall, I just notice in myself that when I have to cook, I end up going a lot simpler on my meals because I don't have a ton of time to make the most intricate things. And in turn, the actual caloric content of that meal ends up being a lot less because I'm not adding so many different random things to it. Beyond that, also reaching a protein minimum, which can be very hard to do as I'm trying to intake 200 grams of protein. So I am supplementing with some protein powder day to day. And some days I'm not hitting, but overall I'm trying to. The second thing that we're going to break down is weighing in. So again, as I mentioned, this can be very toxic and negative. This is something you need to tread lightly around because you do not want to become addicted to your scale. From day 1 to day 2, I technically dropped 4 pounds, but that's water weight. That's most likely not actual fat that was burned. Throughout my weeks, I've seen days where I end up going up 2 pounds in one day and then down a pound the next day. And then the next 2 days I stay at that weight and then I drop again. I hit a new low in my weight and then I come back up and then I go back down. It flows so much. So you need to remind yourself you are not going to see an even decrease week by week. It's going to look jotty, but overall the whole trend will look downward if that's your goal, to lose weight. Opposite is the exact same. If you're trying to gain weight, there are going to be some days where you didn't put on anything, some days where your stomach is just bloated and full of food still, and that's going to dramatically impact your weight. So that's why I try and do it at the exact same time every single morning, so that way I'm keeping control of some of those other factors. The third task that I mentioned is taking a picture of yourself every single day. What's very difficult about weight gain or weight loss is naturally, as we're looking at ourselves in the mirror every single day, we don't see that shift and change as noticeably as our family back home does when they see us twice a year or something, or once every few months. So overall, logging those pictures for yourself, I think, is very important, because what you get to then do is look back at your progress and see, yes, the change from day 1 to day 75 is different, or the change from day 1 to day 32 is different. But if I scroll gently through them, it's really nice to see how I slowly, gently start to progress. And there are some days where I'm more inflamed and bloated, and some days where I'm more shrunken. And it's interesting to see how, just like your body weight, your physical appearance also fluctuates based on what you eat, based on how you slept, based on when the last time you drank some water was. All these different factors can greatly impact. So by taking those pictures over time, it allows you to zoom in on the micro changes rather than just view the big picture and see from start to finish. People automatically are going to assume that the fourth objective daily is probably the easiest, which is drinking 1 gallon of water a day. Honestly, the hardest thing about it is the need to pee. To be blunt with you, when I was first starting out, I was really struggling with just trying to down my water and not really thinking about when I was drinking water, and then in turn finding myself in tricky situations like on the highway having to pull over somewhere and pee. Also to that, I was some days forgetting to drink a lot of my water and holding until the night to finish half a gallon, and then finding myself waking up constantly throughout the night, losing some sleep because I just had to keep peeing. So it is a difficult task to maintain drinking that much water. And it's also one that I find interesting because everybody has such different body types. Some people are small and some people are huge. So I don't love the fact that 1 gallon is universal for everyone. I think maybe some people should drink a little less, some people should drink some more. Ultimately, find the right amount for yourself, what's recommended by doctors. What I've resorted to is just buying the 1 jug gallon from Ralph's and then refilling it every single day until it starts to break at its seams and leak. And then I have to buy a new one. But it's just an easy way to have a gallon. The fifth point that I mentioned is the reading. 10 pages, for some people seems like a lot. For me, it kind of did, honestly. Some people it seems like flying through. So if you, of course, want to read more, but at the bare minimum, you should be reading 10 pages of a nonfiction book in the realm and theme of self-help. I highly recommend Jay Shetty. I highly recommend reading Viktor Frankl. There's so many different authors out there specifically in the realm of this. Personally, I don't love the Gen Z self-helpy mental health kind of tone behind a lot of people's writings, which is why I've opted for authors who talk about surviving life in the context of the 1950s, 1960s, 70s, 80s, in just a little bit more dated of a time. It's just a little bit more accurate to the general human experience. You know, again, I think everybody struggles differently, and that's a whole other theme. read what you want to read. I've found it very helpful to read books that are more philosophical rather than emotional and psychological. The sixth objective every single day is pretty much what made this challenge most notorious, and that's 2 workouts, 1 indoor, 1 outdoor. I've seen a lot of videos online of people doing 75 hard with the Navy SEAL workout every single day and burning out after 6 days and just totally breaking. Some don't like to include that, and I think they probably did burn out, but portray this image that, you know, oh, I lost 20 pounds in 7 days, and don't think that that's healthy either. So what I've opted for is prioritizing the integration of exercise into my life. Essentially, what's actually realistic to sustain. For me, that might look totally different than it does for you. I think 45 minutes minimum each is doable, no matter who you are. How you do it though might vary. Some people are marathon training, so they might want to run every single day for 45 minutes, whether it's speed, whether it's distance. That just might be part of their routine. Some people are bodybuilding and they might want to be in the gym lifting every single day. You need to do something though to offset not having full rest days. So what I've opted to do is essentially an 8-day split, 3 days on, 1 day off, 3 days on, 1 day off. 1 push day, which is going to be my chest, my tris, and my shoulders. 1 pull day, which is going to be my biceps and my back. And 1 leg day, which is going to try and target all the muscles in my legs. And then my rest day, I'm really doing more of a gentle activity in the gym, whether that's just gliding through the swimming pool or a yoga class or cycling on the bike for 45 minutes or just walking on the treadmill for 45 minutes. Same thing with my outdoor activities, running or walking or hiking. When you're doing 2 a day, it's so easy to burn out and lose all your energy that's why I have chosen to do some lower impact, not even hitting cardio activities. Since you're not taking actual rest days, opt for things in order to meet your outdoor activity while also not hurting yourself. The 7th objective of my day is something that I haven't seen other people integrate into their 75 hard, but I was very passionate about making a part of mine, and that's a creative session of some sorts. You know, I'm a songwriter, I'm an artist, and that's kind of how I brand myself, but I was feeling very fake to tell the world, yeah, I'm an artist. What do I do with my life? What have I chosen as my work to make music? But then there were days, even weeks, where I hadn't written any music. And I really want to stress again that if you're choosing to adopt this, don't cut corners and cop out by saying, oh, I had to work on Canva today to make a pitch deck for work, and so that's my creative session, because that's work related. And yes, technically making music is my work, so by songwriting, that's work related. But I'm really just talking about people here who don't have anything creative in their life and don't have any outlet of creativity. I think it's so important to have something. Take on some sort of hobby. If you want to buy a guitar and start teaching yourself guitar for 45 minutes a day, that's great. That's going to teach you so much. Same with piano, same with photography. You want to start creating content like I have been. I have incorporated that into my 75 hard as well, which I'm not really talking about, but I have been forcing myself to post once a day for the past 32 days, and I will go on for all of 75 hard. But overall, I guess I'm just saying, adopt something into your life that is creative that you otherwise would not have done. I've already written 3 songs out of it, which is more than I had written in 6 months of not doing it. So productivity for me as an artist has gone up through the roof, that I'm certain and sure anyone who's working on just adding a little bit of creativity to their life, I'm certain that you'll also have the same experience. So the final thing I want to talk about is maintaining 100% sobriety. This is a whole can of worms that's difficult to open, because definitely your relationship to drinking and consuming drugs or any sort of substance is dramatically going to impact how you go about stopping it as well. It's a totally different journey for so many different people. I mean, someone might be watching thinking that's going to be the easiest thing because I don't drink as is, versus that might be the entire deterrent for someone to not commit, or to not commit to 75 hard, because they see all of these work socialization events or weddings that they got coming up and they're like, I don't know how I'll stay sober during all of that. Like, it's impossible. I can't. So I kind of just wanted to give some tips specifically to staying sober to hopefully ease any stress, anxiety, or worry around that. And again, obviously noting that there's different relationships that people have with alcohol and substances. So there's obviously tons of nuance and intricacies and differences between everybody's individual experience with it. But I think that people primarily consume in three specific ways. The first would be drinking or consuming socially. The second would be habitually. And the third is addictively. So let's focus on the first one. If you're a social drinker, it can be extremely difficult to kick. I mean, being 26, living in Los Angeles, most of what there's to do is to go out and eat or to go out and drink. Especially when you have friends who love to hang out and socialize and party and do things together and go to concerts and go to shows and have crazy nights, take trips to Vegas, whatever it is. It's definitely a huge part of culture and community consuming, but it doesn't have to be. And that's really what I want to explain is, you know, obviously if you have friends that are bad influences on you, if you have people that are gonna pester you and make fun of you for doing something like this, then you kind of need to reevaluate their position in your life. I'm not saying kick them out of your life, but I'm saying maybe don't hold them as your number one top seed. With that also though, I mean, maybe try and convince them to join with you, and it can be something that you're doing together, which can be a lot easier. To have a partner in this project and a hard 75 buddy makes it so much easier. I mean, when I did it the first time, I was doing it with my sister and her husband, and the accountability that we could each hold for each other, having a shared Excel sheet document where we were logging every single thing that we had done, so much help for the project as a whole. What you'll come to realize is socially, you're gonna meet a lot more people through it too. I mean, when you go out with friends, someone who doesn't consume anything, you're gonna maybe bond with or connect with more, or talk more with, because they're on a level playing field to you. Barring all of that now, if all those things seem too difficult to you, but you still want to commit to staying sober, you don't have to tell anyone that you're not drinking. You can also just keep that to yourself. I think telling everyone is incredible because it sets a certain accountability for yourself, that if you're caught outside drinking, now everyone's going to know you're failing your 75 hard project. And sometimes due to that embarrassment and fear of letting other people down, you're also going to in turn fear letting yourself down, and it can motivate you. So it definitely is helpful to tell a lot of people and to tell everybody you know that you're doing what you're doing. You know, I'm here vlogging and putting online my everything in day to day, so I naturally am not going to slip up because I've set that expectation for myself publicly too. But you can do the opposite as well and refrain from telling people and try and kind of sneak around your sobriety. Again, this is just for people who are struggling with social drinking, not people who are struggling with habitual or addictive drinking. This is just the people who want to conquer the difficulty in not being able to drink socially. So what I have opted for so many times is when everyone's getting a drink, peel off, go to the bathroom. By the time you get back, they'll probably be done ordering, maybe have a spot to sit, and then you can say, okay, I'm gonna go grab my drink. Go to the bar, get your drink, just get a non-alcoholic drink or get a soda water with lime, and you're kind of just dodging the the inevitable pestering that sometimes comes about of, oh, we got a sober one tonight. Okay, are you gonna DD us? And everything that sometimes just adds more weight and pressure to your plate. And you don't need that when you're already taking on such a difficult task. So soda water with lime has been my best friend for the past 30 days. And I've still gone out to birthdays. I've still gone out to celebrations. I've still had fun with my friends. I haven't stopped going out. I just have found myself so much more busy, so I'm not able to go out as frequent. And then during the special occasions that I do want to go out, I'm just opting for something different. If you are a habitual drinker, there's a couple things that I've done to mitigate wanting a drink at the bar or like having something in my hand. You know, again, as I mentioned, soda water with lime just replaces that habit of needing something in your hand and a straw to sip out of, because there is like an oral fixation around it. There is the bubble of a seltzer. And even at home, like I love LaCroix, I love Waterloo, and oftentimes they kind of taste a little bit like a seltzer without grossly tasting like one. And it's nice for, you know, when I'm grilling at the rooftop and I'm kind of like, dang, a High Noon would taste so good right now. I'm just like, oh, well, I'll have a LaCroix or a Waterloo, and it tastes basically the same. It fixes that habitual desire to consume alcohol for that moment. Also, I think it's a great practice to have when you're having that like urge or habitual feeling to go and, you know, have a drink or something. Shifting your mind to something else in that moment and getting out of that space will really help. Saying, okay, I'm gonna go and do my run now and I'll be outside. That way when you're running, you're not even thinking of drinking during then, and maybe reading during that time instead. Getting out of the space of when you're starting to have somewhat of an urge can be very helpful, and helpful also for the final category. So before I dive too deep into that, I want to clarify my expertise around this topic without divulging too much information on my background. I'm not an addict and I'm not addicted to alcohol or any substance, but nonetheless have a very close relationship to it, and I'm very educated on the topic. Some stories are not mine to tell, and I don't really want to throw my life trauma onto a camera, but I know a lot about alcoholism, and I know that there's a lot of different teachings on addiction, and there's a lot of science behind it. There's a lot of biochemical, there's a lot of things that make it very difficult to just stop. Nonetheless, though, sometimes that bothers me because I think it can make people feel stuck and like they have no control over the outcome of their life. While the reason why you drink may not be your fault and may not be in your control, the reason why you stop definitely is. And I just want to remind everyone that if you are struggling with alcohol, if you're struggling with any substance, you do have control and power, and you can get yourself out of it. It may be very difficult and you may be very deep into it. It might not be as easy, of course, as someone who's just looking to socially stop drinking. Of course it's not, but you do have control and power over your own life, and you definitely can take it on and you definitely can conquer it. But it's a battle and it's a whole issue, and there's so much on it. I think I would revert you to my video that I talked about last week in terms of the power of will, because again, while I accept and am aware that addiction is a disease and genetic even, I sometimes hate those terms because they blacklist someone and label them as being something. And I don't think that what you are is plainly an alcoholic. We are not labels. I think that every person is more nuanced. Why they drink varies so much person to person. So I guess what I'm saying, I'm just trying to clarify that being addicted to something does not mean you're doomed to that for all of eternity. You have control and power to change things, but you're going to need help. You're going to need a good support system, and you're going to need community in it. I think any sort of AA or NA can be greatly beneficial to people, at the bare minimum through finding like-minded individuals. Day counting is difficult too. There's a lot of things I like and don't like about it. I think it's important, but also I think it creates a hierarchy when it's a program that developed, because now you have people who are 15 years comparing to people who are 24 hours, and while they can offer support and guidance, what about the person who's 10 years deep and has a drink? I mean, that's a huge blow to your ego to now have to go back and tell everyone you drank, and not even just once, but maybe you're really struggling again. And that can be a great deterrent for people to want to be honest and open about what they're going through. So develop your power of will in love, in spirituality and belief, in passion, and in education. Sobriety for the addict is a totally different thing than sobriety for the person who wants 75 hard. And I think everyone should ask themselves the real question: why am I struggling to give up alcohol for 75 days if they are struggling with that? It may be socially, it may be habitually, but if you find yourself like soothing both of those things and still really struggling, then you might need to ask yourself if it's more addictively, which is okay. Again, I don't think that that's what you are, but I think that it just merits a little bit different style of attention to it than the social or habitual drinker needs to stay sober. So with all of that being said, I'm going to end here, and hopefully that served and helped you in some kind of way, even if one of those breakdowns made you reevaluate how you're going to incorporate this into your 75 hard, or even just into your life. I'm very passionate about these things. I think everyone's capable of change in their life. Nothing changes if nothing changes, as my mom says. So just take everything with a grain of salt, go easy on yourself, and really try and eliminate any judgment from your life, whether it's that you're imposing on yourself or judgment that maybe others have onto you. There's already a lot of noise in the world, and don't go deaf listening to it all. So much love. Wish me luck for this one. Take care.